come here. Look at the one with him. So we're about 2 weeks away from kind of the Alabama swing, and what I mean by that is it's going to be offshore fishing. And I came out today just trying to get in the groove a little bit. You know, every minute that I spend looking at electronics, I hope that it makes me a little bit better. And we decided to film it. So kind of what I look for, you know, when those fish spawn, I believe the first thing they do is they kind of gather around the secondary points, you know, around the spawning areas, and then they kind of move to a main creek or kind of a main creek point, and then they move out offshore. So, you know, the water is only 76 degrees. They haven't been out long. So what I'm looking for today is stuff that's, you know, ledges, points, that's connected to the bank. Over a year's time, I'm not saying that I haven't caught them, you know, on an isolated hump out in the middle, but it seems like they kind of follow the shoreline out to that secondary point, or that, you know, that secondary ledge, and then the next step is main lake ledge, and then they'll go to the offshore humps. And then I believe, you know, like 4th of July weekend where I live, for the most part, the schools bust up, they've been caught, and it's almost like they don't even get along anymore. They just split up, they kind of get in brush. And that's whenever, you know, after that month, August, it's when it gets tough, because you'll have one on the bottom and one on the top. But, you know, kind of looking at the map here, you know, this is a big spawning creek here. You know, a good secondary point, you know, they might move out on something like this at the mouth of these pockets. And then once, you know, it gets a little bit warmer and they start schooling up, you'll see them get on these sharper contours. The tighter the colors are, the deeper it is. And a lot of times they'll kind of get on these flats next to it, and as it gets warmer, they'll get on the steeper stuff. And they'll literally just follow it out and move to these main lake. You know, like right there would be a good one. Just a main lake, creek, flat, drop off. And then late June, you know, you're looking at, I mean, the main drag, river channel stuff. So they kind of go from the creek channel to the river channel. So, you know, we've kind of got out here off the bank where I don't expect to see anything, but just idling. A lot of times this time of year, you know, I idle across and I'll see 3 or 4. Most times I don't even stop. You know, these fish are I know somewhere on the lake, they're grouped up, and that's what I'm looking for. Places that I can catch, you know, several in a row, places that I can fish, leave, come back, catch more, you know, not just 3 or 4 fish. Sometimes you have to have that. If, you know, you're in a tournament, there's a lot of boats. It seems like the big schools, everybody finds those these days. So you almost got to find those places that just have 3 or 4 and have several of those places. But, you know, a lot of guys know this, but a lot of guys, I feel like, don't. I mean, when I'm idling, it's time. It always takes time to find these schools. Sometimes I find one immediately. Sometimes it's every 2 hours, you know, it seems like you find a school. But I got mapping, I got 2D, ClearView, and SideVu. And I use all of these. You know, SideVu, I can see them a lot of times better if it's flat. You know, if I'm shining up on a flat, you can kind of see them better. And also if I'm scanning, say off the left side right here, it gets deeper over there where I can get them, like you can see a couple right there where I can get them off in that deep water. But, you know, looking through here, it's just one here, one there, and that's not what we're looking for. But I always use 2D. I know 2D's old school, but I may see them right here on ClearView. And then for some reason, sometimes, you know, I'll see something here and I won't pick it up there. If I see it on ClearView and I look at 2D and there's those arches, a lot of times, not a lot of times, every time, it's for sure a lot of fish. Now they're not always, I'm not gonna say every time they're always bass, because they're not, but you know, it just takes a lot of idling. This time of year, whenever they first come out, a lot of fish will group on the same place, meaning white bass, you know, largemouth or smallmouth, whatever's there, but they'll all group. They're just feeding places. I think a lot of these shad, after they spawn, they move out in a lot of the same areas. So yeah, we're just idling, looking. You know, we got a lot of rods laid out, because we may come across one point that's 10 foot deep where we can crank and find a school. We may find them out here in 30. So we got a lot of different rods laid out. But really, we're just looking, we're just fishing, and trying to find a school. For the most part, this is what I look for. Now, we get into, you know, way up north, we get into the fall where a lot of these fish start suspending, and that's when I'll look for them, you know, on the on Livescope. You know, this is obviously on the back, but you can see it. I feel like whenever they're close to the bottom, I see them better on clear view and on side view, but I'll use that a lot. And you can see a lot of the bait, you know, out there, and pick them up underneath trees, brush piles, all that kind of stuff. But it just seems like right after that, when they first come out, they want to be kind of close to the bottom. So it's just better for me to, I think I see them better in this kind of stuff. And also you can pick up, you know, hard spots better with side view than you can with Livescope. Didn't expect that. Came across the top of that brush pile and there's like 25 in there. Only like 6 foot deep. It's been a crazy spring. I mean, a crazy early part of the summer. Like, it's still, usually the water right now is 80, 82, 83. And we're still in the 70s, and I think they're just acting weird. It's almost like fall, like they're just scattered out. Tricked him, he just shook my worm off. So typical, like fishing in the summertime, or actually, yeah, really a lot in the summer. You know, I pull up there, I make a cast with a swim bait, and I catch one, but they all see my bait and make another cast with, you know, worm and get a bite. That's why I think a lot of times you see so many rods on the front of the deck. Not only are they sometimes positioned, you know, you may pull up one day and they're on top and you can catch them cranking. The next day you pull up, they're on the edge, and you got to catch them, you know, on something closer to the bottom, big worm or jig or something. But a lot of times it's just the fact that they see it, and you got to throw something different to get more bites. Just a big giant shaky head. A lot of times you can, you know, you can change baits when you find a little wad of them like that and get more bites. Sometimes they get used to the bait that you're throwing because you're throwing in the same spot. Other times, they just move. I mean, you pull up there and you pull the school off. You know, in the old days, you thought they just quit biting or there was only 2 or 3 there. What happens is you just pull the school out and they move. Sometimes till you can change the angle, like I was throwing kind of upwind circle around and just bring the bait a different way, you can get more bites. It's the way they're set up. It has to be a spinning rod today. I think I took a spoon in the butt. Old crawdad eater. I got pointy. So we idle across this, and there's a school here, probably of 25 or 30. The problem is they're spread out over a big area. I mean, a few are suspended, a few are sucked around on the bottom. Just makes them tough. I mean, it just makes them tougher to catch. You almost just got to cast, or I got to cast something, you know, right to them, rather than just cranking a plug through them or throwing a swim bait, or, you know, they're too deep to crank for me. But they're just not in that grouped up, want to eat mood. Not that they want to eat when they're grouped up, but you can just, I mean, you can trigger them. You know, one will follow it and the other one's like, I don't want you to get that, and then he gets it, and it's a lot easier to catch when they're grouped up. And you know, a trigger, the sunshine could trigger them. Typically it's a current, you know, some kind of current or something will get them where they stack up, where it's fun. You know, this right here is just a main lake, river ledge. It's got a hump, a big flat that comes out. And you can tell, like, when you're looking for these, you know, I'm looking for a concentration, the biggest school I can find. And, you know, we've been idling, you know, 50 yards, just kind of see what all of it looks like. Side view, clear view. And here's the most important thing for me is this, 2D. That's kind of my cross check. When I start seeing them on clear view, I want to see them on 2D right there. We're starting to get into them. There's 2 or 3. It's pretty deep, 4. You know, a lot of them are 3 or 4 foot from the bottom, which is what you want. I don't want them suspended. Just makes them a lot harder to catch. But there's one. You got to remember too, like, we're just, on this is the cone. You can see them on side view here. I mean, they're out on the edge, they're under the boat. I like to do this when I go over, just to kind of see where the concentration is. Obviously you can set, it's right there on that corner, but I go to this screen right here. You know, this back here is where we were idling. That's not what I wanted to do. But I mean, the concentration is just out here towards the end of it, and that's where we'll concentrate, which is typical. Most of the time, you know, they want to be on a corner, a point, something like that. But the good thing is a lot of them are decently close to the bottom. So many down there, but they're so hard to catch. They're just not, like I said, they're just not grouped up. I had to throw the old minnow across there just because they're suspended, you know. I can't get a plug deep enough down there, and always feel like if they can't trap a plug, they just don't bite it. They just don't bite it as good. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to catch one. They're just a lot harder to catch whenever they're really deep than that 15. You know, your options just, you can move the bait faster. It doesn't matter if it's a swim bait or hair jig, you can just move it faster. A lot of times this time of year, it's what you gotta have. The small one. There's like one school of, from what I can tell, there's a big school of spots, and they're on the bottom. You get close to the bottom, you're gonna catch one. But the bigger fish are just up suspended, like 10 foot off the bottom and kind of scattered out. Like if I would have idled by here and not been fishing, I don't even know that I would have stopped. I probably would have wrote them off as catfish just by the way they were set up. So this right here, right there is the river channel. We're coming up on this flat here. And there's been some fish here. I just want to kind of show you what. Right there is a perfect example. See how stacked those are? You can see them on SideVu too, but those right there are probably white bass. Those are white bass. They want to stack one on top of another. A lot of these random around the edges are bass. Now what's happened is we, you know, maybe they're not here, but also we could have went left or right of them, so. But still, you can see where the concentration of fish is. I mean, you know, there was hardly anything off the side. We get up here around the edge and you start seeing them. We went a ways and didn't see them. I feel like this, I just see a lot more right there. Of course, some of those are white bass. But you also, you know, a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'd idle across this and think, well, a lot of them, you know, they're way up off the bottom. They're probably catfish or gar, but a lot of times, especially when you're in real clear water, whenever you come over the top of those fish, they'll actually come up towards the boat. I mean, you'll, just like you would on a trolling motor, like they'll be come up just to check out the boat. So that right there would be a place I'd probably stop and fish. But I like that. There's fish, there's white bass, there's bait, a lot of that in that area right there. So that right there for sure would be a place I'd stop and fish. Finally on the plug. They're just not wanting the bait. I mean, one single hook right there, and I know how many's down there. They just don't want it. He didn't want to bite it, but we made him bite. This school almost acts like a late June, early July school, like they've seen a lot of baits, and I know that's not the case. Just so many down there. I'm just in one of them moods, or I can't get them to bite consistently. I can catch a random one here and there. Come here. Look at the one with him. One with him is about 4.5. Just a different day. I mean, you go from them being 35 foot deep, scattered out, to setting 5 foot deep over the top of a brush pile. So every day is different. But fishing deep does pay off. It takes a little time to find them, but when you do, I mean, it can be like that. It hasn't been like that today, I'm gonna be honest, but we've caught a good many. So hope you guys learned something, and I appreciate you riding along.